what you use that. That's a good analogy. That.
Make a mental note, man.
So you're saying skimmed milk?
Yeah,
right.
It's more expensive. It's cheaper than whole milk. But to get skimmed milk, they have to skim it. So you have to put more work in. So time is money, right? So it should cost more for skim milk because someone's had to fucking skim it.
Right.
But whole milk, they haven't. They just bottle it up and it's done in there. Doesn't make sense.
Well, it makes sense in their world.
Well, look, yeah. The only way that could make any sense is if you're saying, well, you're getting less products out of it because you're getting less fat in your milk. So they're taking some out of it, so it's cheaper. But you've had to actually put more effort in. And that's surely that's what it should be based on if you're going to have a capitalist society and it's ever going to make any sense. Which I personally don't think it ever would, but if you're going to try it.
Well, like I said, I think that the problem with the elites is that they've used money for such a long time. And
well, like the simple idea of money is the more work you put in, the more money you get back. So you get rewarded for your hard work is the idea. And that makes some sense. But it just isn't like that at all.
No, because the whole system of money mechanics, they've tried to talk to people like, oh, it's like the water cycle. You get money and it comes into the system, then it goes up into the clouds, it evaporates, and it falls down as rain. You know, they tried to equate it to some natural thing, when in fact it's not natural. Every single part of it is man-made, and therefore we can decide what it does at that point.
That idea is engineered as well, so that people don't complain when you're in a recession. It's nobody's fault, it's just the weather, it's just bad.
Well, before we get to what a recession and what a recession is, we need to know what money is.
Well, that's just simple, because like everyone's living in it now anyway.
Yeah, so, and why money's failed as a system. Because it's based on numbers, isn't it? And we're not infinite.
Yeah, but it's not even mathematical. So it's barely based on numbers.
Well, the corporate world is based on profit and growth. Without profit and growth, every corporation would cease to be. They could not pay wages.
You can't grow forever, it doesn't make sense.
There's no such thing as infinite growth because we don't have infinite products, we don't have infinite space, we don't have infinite resources.
Explain that away with inflation. You just make money worth.
Yeah, but when we get back into reality, all those are just words that are like magical spells that go like inflation and recession and quantitative easing. And
like the economy is like a mystical, ethereal being or something that everyone just worships. And when it fucks them over, they're like, oh, we've done something wrong, we must repent or something. It's craziness.
Well, it's like Magog, isn't it? Or it's like an effigy of iron and clay mixed together. You know, the feet with the 10 toes, because that's where we're at now. You know, the feet with the 10 toes, and you know, you got these toes that are made of iron, and then you got they're somehow held together with clay to make it look like feet, but that's brittle and weak. I don't know where you're coming from with that. Yeah, it's brittle and weak. What holds it all together is a weak force of attraction. Then, you know, clay will not stick to metal too well. You know, it doesn't matter if you fire it up or whatever. You know, one hit or one nudge, and that'll fall to pieces. And that's what we've got: a society that will fall to pieces the minute even criticism comes about. Yeah, because it's the type of system that it can only exist if you don't criticize it. Yeah, because the minute you criticize it, which really is question it, you know, the minute you question it, you realize, well, it's unjust. It's not fit for the purpose. You know, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to have infinite growth and all that. There's no responsibility coming from the corporations, and that shows us that they had intended in the first place.
Down to the actual person who's working behind the desk. It's the same. Because they're representing that. That's essentially what it is. What a corporation is. People, isn't it? When it comes down to it. They represent that. So, it comes right down from the top to the bottom. Not the other way around. Which is very important.
Yeah, the alpha male thing.
Water doesn't flow up. You know, it doesn't make sense.
And there's a video out there about like stress, you know, and there's a few doctors and investigators in that, and basically they're looking at the relationship between stress and behaviour. And one of the things they noticed is like in the alpha male, in the animal kingdom, you've got, say, the alpha male, the gorilla, who kind of bullies the other males. And they have been proven through scientific research to suffer the effects of stress. Then you look at the corporate world or even the public service world, where you have this pyramidical system of a leader, the alpha male, who tells all the other, lesser males, the beta males, beta females, whatever, what to do. And therefore, they suffer the effects of stress. And stress, how can anybody think straight when you're stressed? Stress is like fear. It kind of interferes with good thinking. That's why when people are relaxed and, and not under the pressure, say, of society, we come up with some great ideas, but you see, sometimes people react just to the stress.
I don't think there's anyone that isn't under stress from society. I don't think that exists at all.
Well,
there's anyone who isn't under stress.
What is it that's really stressing us? Is it them or is it ourselves? And if it's them...
It's just fucking life, isn't it?
If it's them, is it the part of life that they control? And when we say control, have responsibility for. And therefore, if it's a responsibility, have we asked them in the right way? Because I'm one of them people, I'll say here and now, you know how to ask. Ask and ye shall receive. It tells you that in the Bible. But not many people know how to ask, or they feel a lot of pride when they have to ask. But as I said in my last video about our England, even the Queen needs everybody's help to even be at that position that she's in. So, in one sense, the parable of that, the metaphor of that.
What is the position that she's in?
Well,
let's look at detached from that realm. I mean, I don't see that ever. So how am I supposed to know?
Well, what I'm saying is, it takes 60 odd million people to create someone so vastly wealthy and therefore powerful. Okay? And why have we done that? We've got to ask ourselves the answer to that. If you ask her that, she's going to think, well, because I'm entitled to it, aren't I?
Well, that's already been done.
This is how life is. If you was born, say, on the dole, I don't know, and you never did anything different, you never had to do anything different, then what would you think life is? You think life is that. And what's wrong with it? Now, if you can see how society has been divided up, it's not that there's anything wrong with Dole, anything more than there's anything wrong with the Queen being rich. And here's why: because people are choosing to support that in one way or another. Do you understand? And therefore, are we doing it for ethical reasons and moral reasons? Or are we just doing it because we're just doing it and we don't even know why we're doing it?
That seems to be the stage that we're at. It's more like, I'm just one man, what am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is to say something different, so what's the point of saying anything at all? So no one says anything at all. So just everyone's just not saying anything at all. Because they think that their opinion is just useless and doesn't get anywhere. Yeah,
there's a saying that opinions are like a-holes.
But someone comes out and says it and then they go, oh, I thought the same thing, and then everyone pipes up. It's just like, but, it's a percentage of people, isn't it, that need to pipe up before everyone else goes, oh yeah, I thought that as well. But they didn't want to say anything before, nobody did.
Our finite existence and the way we receive, I'll use this word, programming, so that we can be analogous with computer programming for a minute. You upload something to a computer, before you upload it, it doesn't know how to do that thing. As soon as you upload it, it knows how to do that thing.
I think it's a bit of a stretch programming, because it's more of like an influence, because there's always an element of change.
Well, if I say teaching, it sounds different. If I say programming, a human being instantly might reject that. Oh, I don't want to be programmed. But do you want to therefore be taught? And that is another issue, because as soon as you get to an adult, adults don't want to be taught, do they? So they're the ones resisting all forms of programming, because they've been through that programming as a child, that teaching, and then they become an adult and say, no one's going to program me again. I'm my own free adult. However, looking at the way society functions, people have been well and truly programmed enough to stick within these rigid areas.
Well, it's not just that though. It's like people take on the way of thinking that works for them. Like you could be taught through school. I say taught, let's say programmed. You could be programmed your whole way through school to be like a certain person, and you get out, and it's just not like that, and you have to relearn everything.
Because
Sort of people
a school approaches subjects like this,
school and it still works for you, and then you end up profiting from that. Then why would you change it? It's working for you. But a lot of people get out of school and then realise it's just totally not how it was made out to be. So I'm gonna have to change everything and adapt. Like
depends how you was taught, I think.
But if you don't need to adapt, you won't.
Because I was quite fortunate to get the education that I got, and I was like the last.
Well, education's very different now, I would have thought.
Yeah, I was like the last to really receive certain education. We didn't get to do the O levels. Had we got to do the O levels, maybe we wouldn't have been so successful. And I'll tell you why, because they was starting to dismantle it as I was going through it. So they had to kind of prepare us for a lesser standard. The O level was up there as a higher standard. It's closer to A level. So when I did my GCSEs, there was a huge gulf of information that was missing. When I started my A levels, it's like, what? We should have known that. And A level is naturally a follow-on from O level. But because they dumbed down the standard in order to give the appearance that everybody's actually more intellectual these days, because it's like growth. Got to have higher passing marks every single year to keep maintaining. I don't know. It's like the pressure that the schools are under, the pressure that the headmasters is under to achieve results then. And then that pressure is passed on to the students.
Like if I say you need to make a tenner today, £11 tomorrow, £12 the day after, but you get to a point where you just like, you're plateauing, there's no more, you can't do any more, you've done as much as you can.
Yeah.
Then you just change the word for the number. Just say, well, one's worth 0.5 now. And then you've got twice the amount. Then you've got 20 when really you've only done 10 worth of work. So it's like, you just change the fucking numbers to make it look like you're making more, which is exactly what inflation is.
I think that's what banking is, to be honest. I think that they'll get these paperworks, and then they've even admitted they destroy the paperwork, so there's actually no evidence of anything as far as they're concerned, because they know they're basing everything they're doing on a fiction, and people believe in that fiction and have somehow granted them the authority over their lives, when really no one even has to use any of these products that's put before them.
Well, people are happy to have someone having authority over their lives, so long as they're reasonably content with their lives.
Do you know what that is? Or you say authority over their lives. That's a surrogate for them being personally responsible for what they have to do in order to live. They don't want the blood on their hands to go and kill a goat. I would actually challenge everybody, because I've been to Ethiopia and I've seen how they do it. I didn't do it myself because I'm not a bloodthirsty person. But even if I was, you see, it's like the myths of the animals in the old animal stories. In that, what's his name, Joseph Campbell, he talks about the power of myth of animals and how we would give reverence to the fact that we are in a dilemma. We have to kill something in order to live ourselves, whether it be a plant or an animal. And all of these things can be proven to have a form of consciousness.
Or someone that's trying to do the same thing to you.
Right.
Which is
when they say if it has eyes, it has a soul. It's seen. It's perceived life in a way similar to our own. And therefore we should be given reverence. And giving thanks is a way of giving reverence. Saying a prayer and saying thank you for this food, because it's had to give up its life so that our life continues.
Not by choice though. By force.
But in a way, everything works. You see, I don't want to get into Darwinism.
This is the dilemma though, isn't it?
It is. It's an ethical dilemma. And when people choose to look at it like as a form of bestiality, a form of animal behaviour, human beings, even in the old, what they say, primitive times, were not like that. Human beings had empathy and sympathy. And I've coined two words with one of my friends called Tim Mattock. And basically, they use this word, synergy. You've heard that in corporations, working in synergy, which is like a synchronous and energy. But I'm saying, well, its connotation to the ear and phonetically is like saying sin.